Hello, gamers. Welcome to the ninth episode of the TPP Perspective, the podcast by a gamer about eSports, gaming, movies, and other facets of entertainment. I'm your host, Carnage, and we are back with ninth episode of this podcast. And how are you guys? If anybody is listening this podcast, comment down below. From where are you listening? What are your thoughts on the podcast? And if you have any feedbacks, you can either comment down here or you can comment on the official uh, X account of this podcast, that is at the rate of TPP Perspective on X. So, like always, we have the episode structured with various different sections of uh, happenings, news, events, and things to talk about, as it has been a kind of a ritual that we start with events from esports, moving to our weekly game reviews, and then ending it with news from gaming community and anything related to movies, entertainment. And with that layout, we have been going through strong for past 8 episodes, and as it's a weekly, so last episode was a marker of 2 months of this um, journey of me podcasting. And sometimes it feels a bit demotivating. I know I have said, and I still stand by to the statement that I am not doing it for views, I'm not doing it for fame. Actually, these two things are part of any what to say, any adventure or any uh, decision you make in your life. They are usually uh, influenced by the success, the byproduct of the process. So denying the fame, the money being a factor would be a total lie, but also denying the fact that it is solely for money or fame is would also be wrong. I am doing it for passion, my passion for gaming, and my inability to actually game. And when you do something, there are multiple outcomes from similar action by different people. Either they can be successful and do very good, or uh, it that the process could be very uh, tiresome for them, or very down pulling, or what, uh, very very tedious for them, and they leave in when they see that the byproduct is not proportionate to what they have been putting in. And recently, uh, a creator I uh, heard about uh, s- she used to make content around uh, preparing food and recipes, and she had invested quite a lot on uh, hardware and studio remodeling. And uh, actually, I have watched her few content, and it was on comparison to on scale of production. It was pretty good level. It had a very good production level. It was, and it was gaining some views, but at the end of the day, the charts, the money sheet, it was not balancing, and eventually she has announced that she would be selling her hardware and the studio and all, and she might be ending her content creation journey. But what what is happening with me is I don't lie in any of those uh, uh, outcomes. My outcome doesn't lie in any of those two groups, but mine is neither I am gaining too much fame, too much money of the efforts I put, nor I am getting anything relatively low. I'm getting none. When I always I uh, thought of content creation, gaming, streaming, all that kind of things, it I would love to make it mainstream. I would love to make it my day job, main job. But in my back of mind, there was an inhibition that success in these paths are rare and might not be proportionate to the work you put compared to all other conventional fields. But I was ready for it because, as I said, I had passion for it. But when you do anything in this world, since when you were a kid, there's an human urge to show it to someone, to get feedbacks from someone, and that someone could be a driving force. When you're a kid, you pick up something, you find something, you pluck a flower, you draw a flower, you go and show it to your parents. You get something, you buy something, you show it to your friends, not to show off, but just to share. Just you need someone. And as I have been putting podcasts, some of them have got streams, but I haven't got any followers. No one comments, no one opinionates. I also know that my content is far, far lacking compared to what existing content creators are providing. But still, I myself have supported, tried to support a few creators who have just started, and I also want someone like that. I know I will assure you that it's just a phase, and I will rarely talk about it. But I felt being a podcaster and having a podcast, the mental status of a gamer, mental status of a content creator should also be a part of the content you serve. And I felt to share, so I share. But matter of the fact is, I am doing it for passion. At this point of time, the future that I see ahead is a pulling force for my passion to not fall to the grounds by the gravitational pull from the deprivation of attention. And I will be uploading weekly as I am doing. Just wanted to share. So let's move on to our first section of the esports, as usually we do. This time we have a redemption arc from a team which are considered one of the most fan favorite and is the team which has won most number of majors in Counter-Strike history. Yes, we are talking about the Danish giants Astralis. Anybody who has seen or knows of Counter-Strike esports history, they know about the Astralis era. Matter of fact, I started watching Counter-Strike esports when I first watched it. It was actually an Astralis match, and it was during the renowned Astralis era. Dupree, Zipnix, Mazisk, and device under the IGL ship of Mr. Glaive and coached by Zonic. And that era finished. And then you could say that the stars for Astralis were not shining bright. Astralis had a major downfall since then. It's been a while that they haven't won any major trophy. They have been under many controversial decisions, uh, either it being Stan Zabi heroic controversy or the the rivalry between the Orcs and later Cadian joining Astralis and some uh, lack of coordination between BlameF and Device having a bad time, Astralis having a bad time, having multi-million-dollar deal for Stan and Jabi and still not able to perform, multiple roster changes and still struggling. But recently, the most shocking turn of events happened when Astralis played against Heroic for IEM Dallas 2025, and it was one of the worst performance by the Astralis roster, with one of the worst performance by Mr. Dev King himself, where Astralis lost to Heroic and Device being the lowest rated player and the only stanza being there trio. The young guns were blazing, but not enough for Astralis to beat Heroic. And many people, many fans were disappointed. Many people thought that this is the last straw and it might lead to a disband if uh, Astralis failed to do something in the uh, PGL tournament happening in Cluj-Napoca. But things changed. The very next day, Astralis was defeated so badly by Heroic. Astralis defeated Mongols, the top 4, top 5 team from the past major, and that too 2-0, with stellar performance from Stan Jabi and Device and Kadin. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch that match, but the news that Mongols were defeated by Australis, who were just a day before defeated by Heroic in the worst way possible, have defeated them, and 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 it felt very uh, promising for this Astralis roster, because following the day they beat the Mongols roster, they faced Mouse in the PGL tournament, and Australis had a roaring start on the map in which Australis has been dominating since decade. That's Inferno, and Australis were at match point. They were 8 rounds lead on Mouse, but they couldn't close it. And uh, in fact, having so much support from the crowd at Cluj-Napoca, Astralis lost the Inferno 16-14 to Mouse, and which later turned out to be a bane for Astralis, as they finally lost the series to Mouse 2-1. If they were able would have been able to close the 8 match points that they had on Inferno, uh, Astralis would have been the first finalists for the PGL Krishnapoka. But unfortunately, it's not so. And and we fans are optimistic with this recent performance against Mongols and Maos. There are still hope for this Astralis roster. Also, when we're talking about Maos defeating, having a comeback on Inferno, and moving on to the semi-finals or grand finals, I think semi-finals of Klonopoka, we have to mention the phenomenal performance by Mr. Spinks, the ex-Vitality rifler, who has been one of my favorite young talents from Israel. He had been somewhat silent on Vitality was having a draw in his performance in tournaments showed why he is considered one of the best riflers, uh, with nerds and flamesy and robs, and dominated and helped Mouse uh, win against the Astralis roster. So yeah, let's hope we have more to see from this Cadian IGL roster of Astralis. And moving on, coming from the counterpart of Counter Strike, Valorant, recently there have been some uh, outroar from some pro players and some fans against the system of granting the top 30 uh, uh, team spot in every from every region by Riot for Valorant Masters and Valorant tournament for the VCT basically. Usually, what happens in Counter Strike, if any team, a player of five, under any org or under any banner, if uh, competes for a tournament spot and is able to get that tournament spot, then if due to any circumstance the org disbands or the team leaves, the spot for the tournament lies with the core of the team. It lies with the players who have played, who have toiled hard, and themselves by their hard work have got that reward of the uh, opportunity to play in the tournament. But in Valorant, Riot has a system in which instead of the veto going to the players or the core of the team that competed and got the spot, it goes to the org under which they have played. And this had somewhat uh, caused some discrepancies in certain scenarios in which a well established org enters the Valorant scene by acquiring a team that that were orgless and they qualified for the tournament, and they get a free entry to the major leagues, all the publishings and all the uh, uh, ability to be on the stage of the international riot events for an org. It's an opportunity to get their name out there, and the players, if they are not retained, they have to go again back to the mosh pit and fight their way through the pyramid and to again come out at top to get again that chance to go to the big leagues that they already had. Me personally, I think understanding perspective of both sides are important. If an org puts money and their resources behind any team, and if they succeed to get the spot, then I think if the players are not being too cocky and org is trying to uh, able to trying to fulfill the demands and keep the status quo, and then still if due to demands or due to any reason, due to poaching or anything, the the established system of the org and those 5 players are is not able to sustain, is not sustainable, then I think the spot should remain with the org itself. But in scenarios like this where org had nothing to do with the players, and it was players who were uh, sole contributors behind the resources and the funds that they required to make themselves able to compete and win the spot in the first place. I think it should, or in a situation in which the roster wants to play in the big leagues, but uh, due to some contract issue or denying the renewal of their contracts, leads to the the original roster to not be able to play in the leagues for which they have acquired the spot. I think then it's unfair, and the player should have the player should have the uh, spot rather than it going to the org itself. What do you think about it? Which system is better? The spot remaining to the core of the players if they stay together, or it should go to the org? Comment down below, what do you think about it? Now moving on from one hot take in Valorant's pro scene to another hot take in Valorant pro scene. Recently, Masters Bangkok is going on, and in Masters Bangkok there was a match between G2 eSports and Trace eSports. As you all know, in eco rounds it's difficult to win. Not impossible, but it's difficult to win for the team which has lesser buys, and in Valorant, when you kill a player, you get fun bonus as well as an ultimate star point. And Valorant has a map called Abyss, in which there are no map boundaries. You can fall from the map. Trace Esports, in one of their eco rounds, jumped out of the map as soon as the round started to deny G2 any kills or any ultimate ops. Previously, also, it has happened. I remember in American League, there were some players who did that as well. I'm not sure which team it was. If you remember, please comment down below. Everything was fine until next day. The G2 Esports official Valorant Twitter account tweeted about it, how it is disrespectful and how it is not sportsmanship to even try, because it's being difficult is not impossible. Many times we have seen in high uh, high value matches, in high risk matches, in VCT tournament itself, a team on eco uh, defeating and taking the round from a team with the full buy, and that too without any ultimates used. So it's not impossible. So that's what G2 has to say. And I also think that it's not a, a decent way to do things. You are on a stage of an esports organization, of an esports tournament, and the world is watching you to show the excellent skill that you possess, the excellent game plans, the game statistics that you have. And instead of trying, instead of doing it the right way, you jump off. It is disrespectful, I think. And Riot should do something about it. But also, I think not allowing people to jump off or just making abyss or such maps having an invisible boundary for pro scenes would also not be fair, because it would not be the game that it is supposed to be. Instead of that, in those scenarios, give the fun, equally distribute it among the five players with ultimate ops. I think that could be a solution. And with that, you are keeping the option open to jump, but you are giving the penalty for dying in a round, which is the normal. If they have died the normal way, the usual way, as it is supposed to be. What do you think about it? Comment about it. I would like to hear what you guys think about it. Now moving on. Now moving back to Counter Strike again. Recently we watched a very experimental and a fun thing. The famous casting duo of Sponge and Machine were casting a match in the PGL tournament happening in Cluj-Napoca, and they decided to let a round go play go to play without any commentary, because recently there were some minor uh, mm, uh, outbursts of viewers complaining that the casters overdo it. They oversell, they overshout, they overdo everything, and it is useless. And sometimes for some casters, I also feel that it's better to watch it on silent. I won't lie, but it ain't Sponge Machine or Launders or Scrawny, and I would not name them. But as the round went on, it was a simple CS2 game, and for me, it didn't felt like a tournament. It felt like I'm watching my team play. I'm watching some replay or something like that. And I think in this era of esports, casting, especially good casting, is paramount for entertainment in esports. The direction the casters give, the way they make the game feel like it's a movie, a cinema, a scene of a film, by the screenplay that they create, by their words, the emotions that they have and that they express, the facts that they share, the dragging of attention that they do. I think that is very essential, and a good esports match is very less entertaining and empty without a good caster behind the desk. What do you think about that? Which casters do you like? And what are your opinions on whether it's better to watch with casting or without casting? Tweet at me at the rate of TPP Perspective. Moving on from our esports section, we are now at our weekly game reviews. As those who have joined me earlier would have known, that we here at TPP Perspective, in every episode on Sunday, we have a section of game reviews, which is basically uh, an extension of our weekly game review that we post on the official handle of the podcast at the rate of TPP Perspective on Twitter. And this is the ninth episode. And so these are the games which I have played all my life at different parts of my life. And this week, it's more of a device review than a game review. I remember my uncle, uh, who had a mobile phone which was a Panasonic device with model number gd75. I don't remember from it. If you are thinking that how this man remembers that, I don't. I searched about it and I saw photos and I immediately recognized the one. It was the Panasonic GD75, and we used to play games on it. And actually, it was my first mobile on which I have played mobile games. So the games it's themselves were not something too groundbreaking. There were two games. One, a basic racing game, which was 8-bit, and it was a race car racing with obstacles and enemy cars, drivers, and a gear system with P1, 2, 3, 4. And the another one was a platformer in which there used to be a ball that used to fall down, and you have to maneuver the ball to fall on a platform that's coming from bottom and the ball is falling from above, you have to maneuver it. Some platform had spikes, and there were some projectiles that were also being shot from above the screen, with the top of the screen where the platforms would rise up to disappear was a wall of flame. And if you touched it, if your ball fell on a spike, or you were unable to maneuver it on the next bottom platform, and if it fall out of the screen, then the game used to be game over. But the most entertaining part of that gaming experience was the blue tinted screen and the very responsive, very innovative center button of the device, which was actually a very good functioning, very good receptive joystick. And the design was flawless, the design was very innovative, the device looked futuristic, the sound on the device was uh, was technologically very advanced for the time. I'm talking about early 2000s. And yeah, we enjoyed playing the game, and it is one of the very fond memories of my childhood actually. And if you have ever used Panasonic GD75 or any of those uh, devices that had joystick, you can relate with me. Comment down me on my Twitter at TPP Perspective. But chances are, amongst all of the game reviews that I've done till now, this one, there is the least chance that anyone uh, would have remembered it or would have the device, because it was those times. It was not as common, and the device was not one of the famous devices being sold and bought near me. But yeah, if you have, please comment down below in this, on the platform you're listening, or on the Twitter account. Also, I have rated my experience playing those stock games on the Panasonic GD75 out of 10. But to know how much I have rated, you have to go and check it out on my Twitter. Moving on from the review section, we have some news from the gaming community. And these news, the first two news, could have been a part of the eSports section. But as now I did a mistake, it happens to the majority of people, of audience, of fans of esports, that talking about esports, we have very big names. We talk about Counter Strike, we talk about Valorant, we talk about League, we talk about Dota, we talk about uh, MLBP, we talk about Rocket League. But one game that we usually forget to talk about, in spite it has a very good viewer base in other parts of the world, and it's a very good game with uh, a very unique and interesting gameplay. That is Rainbow Six Siege. And the two main news that we have from the Rainbow Six Siege community is one of the top streamers of America and world, and the biggest streamer of Rainbow Six Siege. The man who has made R6 more popular than the game itself was, and that's Mr. jynxzi. Jynxzi has been recently commemorated by his by Rainbow Six Siege as MVP. I'm not sure about it, but either it's a MVP or a commemoration for the efforts and for his contribution towards Rainbow Six Siege community, and the reason of him being one of the reason why Rainbow Six Siege has recently been so popular and so successful. And it and it always feels very inspiring when game development companies uh, celebrate content creators like this. There are many instances that I remember, and I could compare it to what this commemoration by R6 dev team or the organization is. First, the adding of the jumping out of a plane and destroying a plane trailer, plane by bazooka by a player, which was added as an animation in the trailer of Battlefield game. Then adding of the gold, gold, gold uh, tagline on a shop named Mark and Company, commemorating uh, Mr. Onepixel by the map creator, and it being approved and added to the game, uh, commemorating him. Uh, Also, the with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 recently shouting out, "Let me solo her," the famous slash infamous player of the Elden Ring who was trending and was celebrated for helping people's defeat one of the most tough boss in Elden Ring. So these things do put a smile on my face, and I think you should know, and you should also celebrate and take it as something encouraging in spite of what field you are in. Not necessarily if you are a gamer, in any field you are, if you do something with passion, with a good intent, and eventually you will be noticed. And this thing is also going to help me with the rant that I previously had. Moving on, the another news from the R6 community is recently it has been a season for esports games to revamp themselves. Last year we had Counter Strike 2 being launched and the closure of the Counter Strike Go service. And now we have been announced the new revamped version of Rainbow Six Siege, that is going to be Rainbow Six Siege X, which is going to be launched on March 13 with the recent push by jynxzi and R6 itself being a wonderful game that I always had a desire to play, for it being a impressive FPS title, and the esports scene thriving. We are excited for Rainbow Six Siege here at the TPP perspective, and if you want to know more about it, uh, on 13th March they are launching the game, and yeah, we will be observing. If not able to join, we will definitely bring you out a section talking about what's new with the R6x. Now, moving on from Rainbow Six to Minecraft. Minecraft has recently given some more quality of life updates. Recently, Minecraft has been in on a streak with adding variants to cows, to adding desert flora, to adding ambient noises in desert, to adding sheep variants, to adding wolf variants. Now they have added different textures for different visible textures, which will make it very easy to recognize which mob egg it is. Yes, they're adding visible textures to the mob eggs, and this is something that I have talked about. That's great about Minecraft and its developers. That these are some small things that they look out for, listen for, and implement, that their community wants. And it's uh it's very useful for a player. Also, with that, they are also adding textures, visible cues to distinguish different enchanted books. If you have played Minecraft, you have remembered, you should remember the how all the books with any enchantment on it all look the same. You have to click on it, hover on it to know what actually the book contains. But now with visible cues and visible graphical designs, it will be much more easier for a player to distinguish them. And with this addition, and another request from the community is to do same thing with the potions themselves. And yeah, Mojang has been on a roll, and having such games devs and gamers and a community like that, we as gamers should celebrate them. Now, and another news is recently some chess players have been joining esports organizations, mostly because of chess being an esports for uh, the esports World Cup. Also, uh, Valorant is being added into the esports World Cup that's going to happen in Saudi. So it's exciting that the esports is being taken up by uh, nations and uh, Olympic committees, and they are considering them to be on same level to other physical sports. It's a good news. It's something to look forwards to. And yeah, this is all for this episode. If you have any personal question related to me, use the hashtag Q&A on Twitter at the rate of TPP Perspective. I might select one, I might answer one. If worthy, I might take it in the next episode, but I don't guarantee it. But what I guarantee is, if you use hashtag TPP Perspective to answer to ask any non personal questions, infinite numbers, but they should be worthy. I might answer them, one, two, or all of them, or if they are worthy enough for a podcast section or an episode, I will add on to it. If you want anything me to advise, talk about, or opinionate on, use the hashtag TPP perspective or tweet at me at the rate of TPP perspective. And you can listen us on many platforms. All the links are in the bio of Twitter. Most of the platforms which are famous and industry leading like Spotify, Amazon Music, Spreaker, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.